I was working for my previous company, which had software to optimise marketing investment for customers. One of my customers was Norwich Union, and I basically advised Norwich Union that they needed to get into the online space for general insurance because that was going to lower their costs, give them a better return. But they needed to spend in 1997-98 £6 million in marketing investment, and they wouldn't have got a return from that for around 9 years. So I saw the way to solve that was to get the same £6 million, but to get it from 6 different insurance companies and create a market which could give consumers a benefit for going to that website. Consumers weren't really spending money online at the time. They didn't trust giving their credit card details on the internet, etc. So you had to give them a real benefit. And I found myself making 10 phone calls and giving the same information again and again to buy my car insurance. So this was a clear opportunity. But their answer was, well, we can't work with other insurance companies, they're our competitors. So I decided to just do it myself, initially as a project, and it very quickly took off. Well, the biggest challenge really was getting the insurers to get involved with it, because they didn't want to have transparent pricing, so they didn't want consumers to know that they were more or less expensive than a competitor. They wanted it to be very hard for you to find that information out. So there were a few insurers who came on very quickly saying, well, this is clearly the way the market's going, so we might as well engage with it now. But most of them said, we want to drag our feet, we don't want this to happen. So that was the real challenge, getting over that, convincing them that they had to join up because otherwise they were going to miss out on leads.
So how did you do that? Was it a case of the more you got, then the more would join, I suppose?
It was a bit of that, and it was largely just knocking on their doors again and again and explaining to them what we were going to do in terms of national advertising. We went live with national advertising in about 1999 in the summer, and immediately started getting a very large number of customers coming to the site. So they were missing those fully qualified leads, and it's a very cutthroat market. You don't want to miss an opportunity like that. So that started to encourage them to come on the site. Well, initially I went to the big VC names and said I needed the money. They said yes, because this was a time when it was yes immediately. But then the terms were pretty troubling. So the initial fund that we were going to take money from, they were going to put a director on our board, and his view was that in growing a business it was all about having more people. The more people you had, the more valuable the business was. And my view was this was an internet business, and the whole point was not to have a lot of people, so I disagreed with that. So I basically put the term sheet that the VCs had given to us to friends and family and raised the money privately. Well, honest answer is that the insurance market is very boring. There's a bit of a dearth of talent in there. There are a few very smart people, which is why companies like Admiral have done very well. But generally, it's not a very innovative market. And I found myself sitting at dinner parties with people saying to me, so where can I get my car insurance from? And I thought, I have to get out of this. Okay, well, we went initially for national television when we first started the company, because for something like car insurance, it's a very big market for it. It's compulsory purchase in the UK, but you have to catch someone in the week when they need their insurance. So you have to be prolific, and national advertising, national television is the only way to really get prolific media coverage. So we went straight for TV, but then it was about allowing someone to remember the name when they went back home and sat in front of their computer, remember the name of the site, so that when they thought, I've got to get my car insurance, they could remember where to go. So the name of the site was mentioned 17 times in the advert. So it really annoyed you, but you remembered it. So a couple of things. When my daughter was very small, I turned around in the supermarket like many parents. Right at the checkout, she wasn't there. That's a heart-stopping moment. But I said to the checkout girl, my daughter's gone, in a panic. And the security guard stepped forward and he said, don't worry, we'll sweep the shop. You go and stand at the exit of the car park and look in the back of the cars as they leave. Obviously, I totally panicked at that. I completely ignored him, running around the shop, and found her a few minutes later. But it really got me thinking. And then 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, took her skiing, wrote my UK mobile number on a little scrap of paper, put it in her pocket, and sent her off with a load of strangers to ski school. And I thought, this is ridiculous. With modern technology, I can't give her something that she can just say help, and I know exactly where she is. So I thought, well, it will exist. The Americans will have invented it, so I'll just go and find it. But I couldn't find it. so I decided to make it.
So what was the next step then from that idea to doing it?
So it was specifying what exactly it was I wanted to make. That was a fairly straightforward thing to do. Then working out who I needed to actually make that was a bit more complicated because I didn't really have a clue. So I started to hunt around to find out people who might know, and I found some friends of friends who had built bits of technology before, started to download their knowledge, and slowly gather together a team who are capable of doing it. I think Buddi have been much more conservative with cash very early on. Cash flow basically kills businesses. With the .com it was very easy because it was a time when people were throwing money at you, whereas now it's much more normal time where you have to really fight for money. So I've been very, very careful to only take very small amounts of money at each stage, always hitting just what we needed, while at the same time building a real capability to develop much wider than the initial product area. They are hard to get into. It's a very expensive game because you actually have to have salespeople who go and visit them all over the country. So it's a real challenge. I've got an exceptionally good telesales team, effectively, who can just open the doors and create the meetings. And that's just by just keep ringing them all the time until they eventually see you. And then put someone in front of them and explain to them this is something that's different and that's better and that's going to make your life easier, and they start to buy it, and they will recommend it to each other. So once you start to get a few, that grows much more quickly. Well, I've been lobbying very hard about that. I think it's the single biggest thing the government can do is open up public procurement to small firms. I mean, rather than giving grants to small firms, give them contracts, and small firms will do those in much smarter ways and much more efficient ways than large companies. It's very difficult for government to do that. It's very difficult for the government to give a large contract to a very small firm that might fall over and not achieve the contract. Having said that, the only reason they would fall over is cash flow issues. So if the government can underwrite that by giving them a contract and making sure the payment terms don't force the company out of business, then that's a huge opportunity. And I think Francis Maud is really making a difference in that. I think he's said to some of the key ministries, this is what I want you to do. The aim is that 25% of public procurement goes to SMEs, and they're listening. But firstly, very conservative with money. You never spend what you don't have. So we had a lot of talk today about is it right to invest for growth, etc. You basically invest when you need to, when you have to, because you haven't got enough resources to do the work that you need. So I'd say first tip is don't spend what you don't have. Second tip is stick to what you know. It's not really something I've done. I've gone out into completely new areas. But the trouble with that is you need a lot of money to create a new market. Changing people's habits is very, very difficult. So it's much easier to attack something that's already there and just to take a share of wallet by doing something better or doing something cheaper. So I'd say stick to what you know and attack something that you already know. And then probably the third thing is for all those people out there who are sitting there thinking, I really want to start a business but I don't have a big idea. Don't wait for the big idea. If you wait for the big idea, it'll probably never happen. Just get out there and start a business doing something that you actually like or that you've seen done not very well. Get out there and do that, just like Disney did, just like Mars did, and start doing that and then watch it grow.